you expect it to be? And we have to go into the reasons, and that's where we work back, because we have to know equation 4, that organizational productivity is a combination of your human performance and your resources. I may be an excellent driver. I gave you that example last time, but you haven't given me a car to drive. So where will the productivity come from? Or you have given me the most expensive car, but I do not have the competence to drive a car. Where will the productivity come from? So that is the way we need to look at when you look at this totality, that organizational productivity, why is it not happening? So when you work back, is it due to resource constraints or is it due to human performance? If it is resource constraint, obviously you can't do much in the realm of HR or OB or whatever. But if it is in the realm of human performance, then look back at, is it an ability issue or a motivation issue? Because that is what gives the potential human performance. Now, we have to further look back. If you find that the potential human performance is not happening, you have to identify whether it is ability or motivation or both. And similarly, you go back to pinpoint where is the problem. It's exactly like having the blood test to determine whether it is viral fever, malaria, typhoid, jaundice, whatever it is. So reaching the root cause. And in organizational development, unless you understand why is the situation what it is, where do you want the organization to go now, if you do not have this clarity, then OD will not work the way you expect it to work. So as I said, please have conceptual clarity and then have a practical orientation. How do I implement this? Now, we have talked about the human part, the human behavior part. And the next few slides, we can go through quickly because I want to bring you on to OD straight away. So Arvind, you are hosting now, right? So can we move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we will move ahead and stop only briefly at a few slides. My tendency is to give you material so that you don't have to hunt around at different places. So this is about what is an organization. You can go ahead. Next, please. I don't need to explain all this because then it will take a lot of time. I have just briefly given you what is an organization. There is nothing called an ideal organization as I have written on the slide. But if you imagine what could be an ideal organization, because the ultimate purpose of OD, please understand, OD by itself has no meaning unless there is an objective to be achieved. So our attempt has to be to move towards an ideal organization, which actually is non-existent. But some features, maximum efficiency, profitability, employee satisfaction, those kind of things can be checked out whether we have reached or not. Next, please. I am quickly rushing through these because these are what should I say, foundation. We'll come to OD in a while. Yeah. Next, please. Obviously, we are dealing with human behavior and we are dealing with human behavior and organization. So both are important. You have to understand what is an organization. You have to understand what is behavior. And then only you can work on that and take your OD step. Next, please. Yeah, you can push through. Next. Next, please. We can rush through this part. I'll stop you where it is. So this is how the organization and the people come together, and that makes it organizational behavior. And there are some goals of organizational behavior, as you saw in the last slide. Again, these have to be understood. We are dealing with people. These people are organized in a structure. There is a CEO, and then there are the vice presidents and vice presidents and general managers, and so there is a structure which an organization follows. To operate, we have certain kinds of technology. All these have to be understood for a good OD to happen. Okay. So we are dealing with people. One more minute on that one, please. The previous one, because that is a key slide. The previous one, previous slide.
Yes, sir. I am switching it back.
Okay. This we had done last time, I remember. Yeah. This is a key slide because this is what we will be dealing with in OD. We have to deal with people. We have to understand the structure of the organization. And if need be, we will change that. The technology that the organization works with. Just a clarification here. Technology obviously includes engineering and the technical parts of an organization, the manufacturing processes and all of that. But for the purpose of psychology, organizational behavior, OD, we take a wider meaning of technology. For example, the accounts department, the standard process is the double entry bookkeeping system. That is the technology of the accountant or the accounting function. Professional selling skills is the technology of the sales and marketing team. So technology is given a wider meaning. So we have to understand this gamut of what technology, what processes an organization uses. And we have to understand that every organization operates in it has an internal environment of its own. You call it organizational culture, climate, this, that, and the other. And it also is part of an external environment. So it has to operate in India, it has to operate in, all over the world if it is a multinational company, etc. So we have to understand that environment. So all these four are the building blocks of OB as well as OD, organization development. Okay, next please. Yeah, this we had done last time. So we can skip. Again, this can be skipped. I have briefly told you we need to know organizations. You can go through these slides when they come to you, not an issue. So organizations are social systems and there is a mutual interest. That is, the employees have certain expectations from the organization, but simultaneously the organization also has certain expectations from the employees. And that is what is called a psychological contract. There are duties on one side and there are expectations also along with. So my expectations have to be, as an employee, my expectations have to be fulfilled by the organization and the organization's expectations have to be fulfilled by me. That is what is the mutual interest. Organizations need people, people also need organizations. Yeah, let's move on. So this is an organizational behavior model you can study. Only look at the last part. Our attempt is to get effective behavior and work performance. Both OB and OD aim at that. Next, please. Now, this is an important concept before we jump on to OD. One more click. This is definition by Dr. Atreya. One of the simplest I've ever found, and he happens to be my mentor also. So therefore, it's a he has this ability to put across ideas in very simple ways. Now, why do I say this is important? Because HRD and OD have a clear correlation, clear connection. Why is the organization wanting its employees to develop through the HRD process? Because the expectation is once employees are little more competent, they will help the organization because of that added competence. That is why organizations are willing to spend money in training and development and all kinds of activities, which is now typically called learning and development, so that the competence of the employee increases, and that competence somewhere contributes to the organization, and that is where OD is going to happen. If my employees remain incompetent, how will they help in organization to develop? We'll look at the formal definition of OD in just a while. So HRD and OD must go hand in hand, and this is very important to understand. I invest on my employees, they become more competent. So collectively and individually, they contribute to organizational goals. And when more and more organizational goals are achieved, typically the organization is kind of developing. Okay. So HRD must lead to OD. And once you have got some good results, the organization has developed, profitability has increased, productivity has increased, market share has increased, all of that happens. That is when the organization is again having the responsibility of plowing back a part of that benefit onto developing employees for the next level, or by then whoever has joined in, they need to be groomed. And as you know, Alvin Toffler's concept of that the illiterate of the 21st century is not going to be someone who doesn't know how to read and write, but the illiterate is that person who does not learn, does not unlearn, and does not relearn. So we have to learn, which may be valid for a certain period of time. So HRD has happened, training has happened, we have learned something, we are able to give contribution to the company, but over a period of 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, that competence is outdated, and now we have to unlearn that competence and relearn something. So that way, HRD is a continuous process, OD is also a continuous process. Now this is important, that's why I would like to check, I hope the connection between HRD and OD is clear. Then we move ahead. So HRD is individual employee development typically. When the individual employee will develop, they are expected to contribute more towards the organization to develop, and that's where HRD contributes to OD. But it cannot also happen, or it should not happen. The organization grows, the organization becomes more profitable, better productivity, etc. Thank you, Ravi. Thank you. So all of that, but it is not plowing back and it is not developing its employees further. So it will again stagnate. So it has to be a continuous hand-in-hand process. HRD leading to OD, OD plowing back part of its benefits into HRD. Okay. So next few slides are details of this HRD process in summary. So Arvind, I would request you to straight away now come to 57, I think. That is where OD starts. So maybe you can drag it and take to 57, otherwise it will take time. So these are basics I have given you. Steps, prerequisites, all of that. These are matters of detail which you can go through. And if you have queries and questions, we can see it in a subsequent class. Yeah. Thank you. So now please spend a minute or two properly on this definition of OD. What is it trying to say? This is the simplest of definitions. And as you will see, maybe not today, but maybe in the next interaction, that it is very difficult to give a single standard definition of OD, right? So basically, what are we saying? We are talking of change. What kind of change? And that is why these two concepts are very closely linked. But I would always love to start with OD because that is the ultimate aim. Change is the mechanism by which we will get to OD. So first, what is our end objective? Our end objective is OD. How do we get to OD? We get it through the change management process. So that is the methodology or technique we'll cover. So basically it is about change. Now the change is a very interesting term because change can be positive also, change can be negative also. Are you okay with that idea? Change can be negative, change can be positive. But when you use the word development, normally we use it in the positive context. If there is something negative that has happened, we specify there has been a negative development. That's the common way of speaking it out or saying it out, right? So change can be positive, can be negative. Since we are talking of organization development, obviously we would like to talk about the positive changes. They can only bring development, otherwise there'll be negative development, which none of us wants. No organization wants to regress. We want to progress. Now, which changes would bring about development? If they are planned and systematic, then only we will have development. If they are not unplanned, unsystematic, because some changes will keep on happening. Our hair grows, our nails grow. Natural process. But then we would like to trim it and do whatever, to look good. Similarly, if you do not have planned and systematic changes, the organization may go into a negative spiral, which happens with so many organizations. So many global organizations have just vanished, right? Which were 100 years old and more. So OD is essentially bringing about change through a planned and systematic process. That is one part. Second, unlike HRD, which is focused on individual employee development, OD is a term you can use only when either the entire organization has embraced changes or a large part of the organization, some positive changes have happened. Then only it can be classified as OD, organization development has taken place, right? Any questions on this definition? And as I said, there will be as many definitions, as many authors. So don't worry about that. Your conceptual clarity will come from one, it is change that will lead to development. If we do not plan it, if we don't do it systematically, it may lead to negative development. Then you are leaving it to chance. Then you are leaving it to fate or luck or whatever you like to call it. So OD is about bringing in planned and systematic changes, one part. Second part, either the entire organization some changes happen or large parts, at least large parts of the organization. Next, please, Arvind.
Sir, I have one question here.
Please.
In case of urgencies like we saw in COVID times, the changes were inevitable. They have to be brought in very fast. Right. Though they were planned, but they may not have been systemic because the time, to go and be systemic may not have been there with the organization. So will that fall into the?
I would also use the word, I'll answer that. Systemic changes, it can also be systematic changes. When you bring in changes in a system and we are talking of planned change, then obviously it is also systematic change. Systemic as well as systemic. Okay. Yeah. Coming to your question, Arvind, those are exceptional situations. And for that, in fact, we are kind of jumping the gun because simply stated what happens. The first level is change, which we are generally very comfortable with. There is a very famous hot water and the frog experiment to prove that. I'm coming to exactly to your question, answering your question, but it has to be answered at three levels. So one is change. Sorry, my apologies. everything in this world will change. Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh is nothing but change concept, as I was telling you last time. Unfortunately, we Indians, ghar ki murgi dal barabar. So we are always looking towards east and west, Japanese model and American model and UK model. But our ethos has answers to virtually every situation that we face. I am not saying we should not learn from other models. So that frog experiment, the basic experiment is that if you put a frog in a normal temperature water, whatever it is used to, so it will be there. And if you start heating it very, very, very slowly, so the temperature is rising, but the frog is able to adjust to that change. And it becomes so comfortable that when the heat reaches a level where the frog can't take it, it will die, but it will not jump out. Whereas if you take hot water and put a frog there, it will immediately jump. So what does it indicate? That we are comfortable with a certain kind of change. We can absorb that change and gradually move on. We don't even come to know. But the next level, and I am now coming to answering your question, the next level is what we call disruption. Now, disruption examples, if you ask me, would be if 25 years back somebody had said that an Airbnb will come and an Oyo will come and an Uber will come, and these people will have no physical properties of their own, but they will be the biggest business entity, you would have laughed at. But what have they done? It is actually true. So this kind of, they have disrupted the hotel business, the Airbnb and OYO and all. The banking business or the payments business has been disrupted by, Paytms of the world. And the transportation business, Uber hardly ever owns a cab, but it is the largest transporter in the world. Now imagine 25 years back, who would be the largest transporter? Somebody who would have the biggest fleet of vehicles. So that is disruption. So disruption means, yes, it is also change, but change at a pace which may be comfortable for some, which may not be comfortable for some. So many of the old school, Kodak for instance, photography was linked to Kodak, just like, Xerox is linked to photocopy. Even today you find people saying it's Xerox Karala. What does it indicate? The process is not Xerox. Xerox is a brand name. So it is synonymous with the process of photocopy. Exactly the same way, Kodak was synonymous with photography. The moment you said photography, Kodak used to come to you. Today, where are they? So this is disruption, right? And what you asked is what we call hyper disruption. That means in a single day, the speed has changed so much that most people find it difficult to adjust to. And we have to really run helter-skelter to find solutions to what we are facing. And COVID is something which no one in this world has ever faced. So there are no experiences to draw from. It's all hit and trial, right? So, but look at the human capacity in a year's time, and we must be proud that in India we have been able to do a substantial amount of, get a substantial amount of success. So what am I saying? Change, which means things are happening slowly, we are getting adjusted to. Then comes disruption, where changes happen at a faster rate, and some are able to adjust, some are not able to adjust. And hyper disruption is where it is happening at the fastest rate, and most of us are finding it difficult to adjust to it. But survival instinct, we all somehow sink or swim. So we have been put into the deep end of the water and we are trying to swim out of it. So that is hyper disruption. So now any organization has to be able to sensibly assess, will change be fine, or we are in a state of hyper disruption where, since changes are happening at a faster rate than before, we have to speed up our change processes. And if we face hyper disruption, then all the more necessary, we have to take drastic steps. I just gave Suketu the example of COVID attacking all of us is a hyper disruption in one single day. Even in early March last year, like around this time or a little earlier, because the lockdown virtually we were getting signals on 22nd very clearly. So if somebody in February last year had told you that 6 months you will be locked up in your houses, I have still not understood why is it called lockdown? Because the opposite of lockdown should be locked up. So we have been locked up now, by the way. So it is, so we were actually locked up then. And now we are kind of locked down that we can move around a bit. But then certain states, as you know, Maharashtra is having a lot of problems. And the CM is cautioning that, I may have to go for lockdown again. So Suketu, I hope I have been able to tell you, it is just, everything is a change, mind. Everything is a change. But at what speed the change is happening, the highest speed so far known is hyper disruption. So change to disruption to hyper disruption, and the corporate strategies have to match with the kind of changes that are happening. The speed has to be matched by the internal process changes. That is the whole. So I hope, Arvind, I have been able to set the.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. So next we move, next click please. On the same slide, there is one more point. Okay. So as you can see, and mind you, these slides are typically called busy slides, which means too much of material. These are not my presentation slides. These are more academic slides because you have to, after all, appear for an exam. My workshops, training, and other presentation slides will have 1/10 of this material on one slide, and with more animations and this and that to make it more attractive. But these are academic oriented, content oriented. So, so pardon me for that. So systematic process, we are defining OD, the second part. It is a systematic process for applying behavioral science principles, what we learn in OB and human behavior. OB is essentially human behavior in the organization. Human behavior is psychology, group behavior is sociology. So all this comes together, right, in an organization. So it is a systematic process, behavioral science principles and practices in organizations. For what purpose? Remember, any goddamn thing you do in management, and I would extend it to personal life also, and I implement it strongly. Whatever little successes I have got is because of that. I am very clear what is my objective. I don't start work without being clear in my head what is my objective. And second is, what are my resources? My objective may be to become a Mukesh Ambani tomorrow, but that's a stupid objective because I don't have the resources, right? So we need to understand anything in management, including OD, what is your end objective? Strategy can be worked out only when you have a clear objective in mind. You can't go to the airport and ask, I want to board a flight. They will say, where do you want to go? I don't know, maybe Mumbai, maybe Chennai. Then you add it. Your objective has to be clear. And then resources. You reach there without a ticket or without these days Arogya Setu or whatever is required, without a mask, you will be shunted out. So what is my objective? What are my resources to be able to reach that? Only then you can plan the changes that you want to do. Okay. So ultimate aim is then to increase individual effectiveness, which we achieve through HRD, and organizational effectiveness, which we achieve through OD. Again, another term has come, effectiveness. Please read up. These basics I find are missing in a lot of people. I'm not saying you, I don't know, but then, ask somebody the difference between effectiveness and efficiency, which Peter Drucker cleared some 70 years back. What is effectiveness? What is efficiency? Managers are not clear. Then we add a dimension to it, that if you are effective and if you are efficient, then you will be excellent. So that clarity is very important to achieve anything in OD. Okay, next please. First sentence should be absolutely clear. I don't think there is any problem there. First para, first sentence. It's a one sentence para anyway. The focus has to be total system change, making them function better. Organization is the focus, and making them function better is the objective. Remember always, you need to take action. However brilliant your idea may be, you are not going to get any result unless you implement. So action is important. And in management, we use that phrase, paralysis by analysis. मैं तो एनालिसिस कर रहा हूँ, एनालिसिस कर रहा हूँ, एनालिसिस कर रहा हूँ, उससे रिजल्ट नहीं मिलने वाला. At some point, you have to stop the analysis and act. You have to decide what level of accuracy of data is needed. Right? अभी 5 बजे हैं या 4:45 बजे हैं. If you have to just go to the market and fetch some bread, that doesn't matter. But you have to land on the moon, then every nanosecond maybe becomes very important. So you have to be very clear, what is my end objective? Before I take action, what are the things that I should be ready? So orientation has to be action. And there is a concept, a model called action research. We'll come to that in a later interaction. So the orientation is action, and target is what? Human and social processes. Human and social processes have to be looked into. Wherever there is a need to change, we have to bring about that change in a planned and systematic way. That's what OD is all about. The setting is the real organization. That means a working organization in which the changes have to be brought in. Okay, I think this should be fine. Next, please, Arvind. Do let Arvind know in a chat or something if you want me to stop and discuss, because we have to move at a certain pace, please. Okay, so this is the historical perspective in para 1. Actually, you can say 40s it started. Some of the early experiments in OD were in 1940s, 50s and 60s, of course. It became a subject of interest for a lot of people. Earlier, it was basically group dynamics, because when people work together, they are in a group situation, and the dynamics changes from the individual to a group. The same person, when he or she is interacting with you on his or her own, one-on-one, that behavior pattern may completely change when that person becomes a member of a group and two groups are interacting. I mean, we were facing this every day. We had, as I think I mentioned last time, I was dealing with an union of 17,000 people, single union at Escort. Those days, we were 22,000 people. So at the personal level, the union leaders would be absolutely friendly with me, you know, and enjoy jokes, have tea, coffee, lunch, whatever. But when it came to their meetings, most of the time they would tell me in my room, sorry sir, aaj aapki bari hai, which means aapko gali padegi. So the professional level is different because he has to impress his followers. So if he doesn't abuse the management, how can he gain prominence? It's as simple as that. So that is what we have to understand here, that group dynamics is different from the individual relationships that you have with someone, right? And in organizations, you can be very friendly, pally with someone, but he or she may be part of a different department, and your two departments, when they have a fight, you will obviously go with your department in most cases, right? Okay. I don't think there is anything much. You please read through. If you have a query, you can ask. Third para, OD specialists rely heavily on behavioral science techniques. I'll In the next slide, it will come. What are the, some are mentioned here also, questionnaire surveys, interviews, etc. Now, here the collaborative approach is very, very important. And I'll differentiate this when we come to the diagnostic model of OD. And from there, we can move ahead. Right? Any questions so far? I hope things are clearing out.
Yes, sir. No questions.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Next, please. While it is a collaborative approach, but most of the time, an outsider who is the OD consultant is roped in. Either it is a team, if it's a very large OD exercise, could be an individual also. Now the question is, how can this outsider come and guide us as to how we should go about what changes, how to go about it? The answer lies in the doctor-patient scenario. Aren't we ourselves the closest to our body? What I am going through, can there be anybody better than me? But why do I go to a doctor for a pain in the head? Because the doctor has handled these kind of things with 3,000 patients or 10,000 patients. So he has a knowledge base, a skill base, which I do not have, even though the problem is mine. Since he has handled similar problems, now come to OD. The organization members, which means management, employees, all of them together, they know the organization inside out. But the kind of situation they are facing, the OD consultant has handled these kind of situations multiple times with other clients. That is where the OD consultant brings the expertise, even though the organizational members know the organizational problems probably better than him. Okay. So the basic thing that the OD consultant does is,
Sir, can I ask one question?
please. This is
Sir,
Praveen,
but
right?
as a like we are, yes sir, as we are new, so we will not have those type of experience or expertise. Then how can we start working as an OD consultant?
Great question. But then for any profession, you always, whatever you call it is different. You have an apprenticeship. Even if when you graduate out of LLB, like I did many years back, if I wanted to go into law practice, I couldn't have started on my own. I would have got associated with a senior who has 10, 15 years in the profession or something, help him or her with all the work that they do and gradually get it. A surgeon, for instance, just because you have done your MBBS, you won't be able to start doing surgeries independently. You are always guided by senior doctors, and gradually they leave it to you as you gain expertise. So this is true of every and any profession. So OD consultant is no different. You have to have experience. First of all, the understanding.
Understand, sir.
And then
Understand,
you
sir.
have to also experience these things where somebody can guide you. No. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? So you may be enthusiastic, but it is experience which you need. So therefore, you have to work in a team with other OD consultants or something like that to be able to reach a stage where you can do independent assignment. Yeah. Thank you for the question. Good question. Then,
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
okay, pleasure. So they normally redesign the organization so that work groups can coordinate their efforts more effectively. So I'll give you an example of this, and then you will understand this very, very clearly. How they redesign the work the way it is being done. Let's move on for the moment. It will come in due course after 2-3 slides.
I have a question, Sumit.
Please, please.
Yeah, you talking
Anamika,
about
right?
he bring, yeah, that's right.
Good, good, good. Yeah,
You saying that he bring in an ODA consultant who is an external party
right,
because of his experience.
right.
Is it also not because of his being objective to the situation?
That is when we go into the that why I didn't use that logic here is there would be many people inside your organization. If the organization is big enough, there would be many people inside also who would have OD experience, and there are internal consultants also. So they are
Mhm.
kind of given deputation. They may be a vice president or a general manager or whatever position. They are deputed to be the internal OD consultant for the next 2 years, 3 years. So that
But they
model
will
is
be,
also there. That is why I didn't want to say it. So external and internal के जब हम pluses and minuses देखेंगे, तब what you are saying is important. Since
yeah,
you have
because
brought it out, I will compare. I will compare. So the internal OD consultant अगर आप बनाते हो, so what are the shortcomings? He may be as knowledgeable, and more so about the inside of the organization, he or she will have better knowledge. But the question is that once that OD assignment is over, he or she will go back to his normal position of GM or vice president or whatever in the
Mhm.
function that he came from or she came from. And then this
No,
person
I
will
think
always
my
have at
question
the
was,
back of his or her mind that my next promotion, these other people, other vice presidents, other general managers will be my competitors. And this is, I am discussing with the CEO. So if I go too much against the CEO, then he may, not give me my next promotion when I go back to my operational work. So those considerations will be there. The politics, internal organizational politics will come in. And that's where your point of objectivity comes. The external OD
yeah,
consultant is interested in only two things: to do a good job so that the name spreads. If I do a good job in your organization, you will spread my name to some other organization. And of course, my professional fee I am interested in. Your internal politics, A versus B, B versus C, I am not interested. So I will be able to bring in that objective element, plus face the CEO with the same confidence as compared to an internal OD consultant. Of course, I'm not saying that all of them are the same. There are internally people who can tell the boss, no, that's not on. This will not work. I am not going to do it. I have seen such HODs also. But mostly there will be that bias, which you brought in at the beginning, that independent view of the outsider will be very relevant. I hope I've been able to answer.
yes. Thank you so much, Sumit.
Welcome, welcome. Okay, Arvind, I think we have very less time left now. Please feel free to stop me because I know the other pressures.
We have 10 more minutes left. So
Yeah. So they have a class, I understand, right?
yeah, we have a class after 6.
What time?
6.
6, then I have to leave in 5 minutes. If it is later than 6, then we'll go up to 6, right?
Yeah, so we can continue for another 5 minutes, and then in case if anyone has questions, they can ask the question.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So the next part of this slide is talking about the duration. And I tell this to my clients also, that if you are not interested in going through a long haul, 2-year, 3-year process, don't get into any big OD thing, because then you will stir up your employees. It's typically, a lot of HR fail because every year they will go to the employees because the top management has told them to carry out some engagement survey or satisfaction survey or whatever. And then what happens? They will not act on it, or the higher management will not allow them to act on it. And next year again, they will, as a routine, reach every employee with another question. And then the employee is rightly pointing out that यार तुम लोग कुछ करते तो हो नहीं, इकट्ठा करते रहते हो डेटा, हमें तंग करते हो, टाइम वेस्ट करवाते हो, सॉल्व तो प्रॉब्लम एक नहीं किया. So if you are getting into OD, be prepared for the long term. And इसमें I would strongly recommend जो previous slide में, once you get the slide, जो HRD की प्री रिक्विजिट्स है, मोस्ट ऑफ देम और वर्चुअली ऑल ऑफ देम आर एप्लीकेबल टू ODS. अगर आपने एनवायरनमेंट नहीं बना, अगर आप में पेशेंस नहीं, परसीवियरेंस नहीं, प्लीज डोंट गेट इनटू OD. There will be lots of slips. कहते हैं ना, there is a saying, there are a lot of slips between the cup and the lip. आपको लगेगा सक्सेस हो रहा है, अचानक यू विल रियलाइज नहीं. So you have to have patience. ये कभी भी मत सोचिए, एंड इवन एज एन इंडिपेंडेंट इंडिविजुअल मैनेजर ऑल्सो, कि आपका आइडिया बहुत अच्छा है इसलिए लोग एक्सेप्ट कर ले. नो, देयर इज अ कॉन्सेप्ट जो ओडी में बहुत प्रोमिनेंटली यूज होता है, विच इज कॉल्ड द फोर्स फील्ड एनालिसिस. अगेन कर्ट लुइस, फोर्स फील्ड एनालिसिस. बिफोर यू इम्प्लीमेंट एनीथिंग, मेजर आउट कि कितना सपोर्ट आपको मिलेगा. आइडिया बहुत ब्रिलियंट, बट दैट डज नॉट मीन इट विल बी एक्सेप्टेड इमीडिएटली. पॉलिटिकल फोर्सेस क्या काम कर रही है, आपके एंटी पार्टीज कौन कौन, those clique formations, they are very very important in implementing OD. So you have to be a very very aware person and not just jump onto lot of people. इतना बढ़िया आइडिया दिया फिर भी किसी ने नहीं लिया. आपने चेक किया था कि कहां से आपको रेजिस्टेंस मिलेगी और क्यों? So those assessments are very very important in OD. It takes a long time to understand things and then start rolling it out. Okay, next please. I think this is just stop for a minute. Typically, traditionally, this used to be the OD, and I'm stressing on the fact traditionally. This is the typical doctor-patient model that I briefly touched upon. You can exactly match step for step. A patient goes to a doctor. What is the first step? Diagnosis. Okay. So the doctor will ask certain questions to the patient. Even the best doctor in the world can't solve your problem without knowing what is bothering you. Okay. So the symptoms have to be understood, and based on the symptoms, the doctor brings in his or her knowledge and skill, and then arrives at a diagnosis. Are you okay with that? Then comes the intervention, which means a prescription is written, and I would divide it into two parts. Intervention part A is done by the doctor who writes out a prescription. But intervention part B has to be done by the patient. दवाई खानी किसको? आज तक ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि डॉक्टर ने बस दवाई लिख दिया और आप ठीक हो गए. So somebody, both of you are involved in the intervention. The doctor writes the prescription. The patient takes the medicines according to the prescription. So that is the action part. So planning, the doctor does for you. Action, the patient has to do. Once the patient recovers, let's say jaundice, you recover after a month, 2 months, whatever. Obviously, you do not want to get into a relapse. And therefore, there are certain steps you take as prescribed by the doctor. कि भाई तला हुआ खाना नहीं खाना, बाहर मत खाना, पानी बहुत सोच के बॉईल करके पीना. What are those? They are preventive steps कि आप फिर से वापस प्रॉब्लम में ना आ जाओ. Exactly ditto is followed in OD, barring one change. यहाँ पे क्या होता है? Patient will tell the symptoms, but the diagnosis is completely done by the doctor. In OD, the consultant or the OD team, internal or external, and the people, that is employees of all levels, whoever is needed, they jointly do the diagnosis. Again, in the intervention part of it, it is joint discussions through which an action plan is made. Not that the doctor alone writes the prescription. Again, implementation of that action plan, it is jointly done. In the most of the initial meetings, until such time the OD process has reached a mature stage, you find that the consultant is there for the meeting continuously. And once you have created that change, you then take steps for maintaining that good thing that you have achieved out of it. So OD traditionally has been like the doctor patient. Now, why am I stressing on tradition? Because I will end with one thought, which is modern OD realized that problem with this kind of steps is that when the patient goes to a doctor, the patient is very keen that I must become healthy. So the patient will answer all the questions honestly that the doctor is asking, because it is about his or her own health. And that is when the doctor will reach the correct diagnosis. Now, in an organizational situation, when you come to me as an OD consultant and I am the general manager or manager of a place, if you ask me, what are the problems here? What problems do you face? Problem. Somewhere I will be hesitant, because if I tell you too many problems in this organization, am I not blaming myself in a way that I have been here 20 years and what am I doing if there are so many problems? Why have I not been able to handle any of these? So there is a tendency to hide that information. And the OD consultant, if the doctor does not come to know the problem, how on earth is he or she going to treat it? So therefore, this problem basis, starting with the problem, what are your problems? That is when the diagnosis will happen, was not giving the kind of results that we were wanting. And that is when the current trend came in about 30, 40 years back, which is appreciative inquiry. The same goal you want to achieve, but your starting point is completely different. You land up there and tell the guy, the GM or the manager or director or whoever, "Arey boss, aapki company so it's a 50-year-old company. There were so many competitors who came and they perished. What are the good things you must have done? You know, since I'm an outsider, why don't you tell me the rich history of your company?" Now do you see the enthusiasm? Oh, we did this, we did that, and 50s we did this, 60s we did this, 70s we did this, and blah, 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 it will go on. So positive thing. And then when you have developed that kind of a rapport with this person, yeah, right, Arvind, thank you. Then comes the question, okay, since we are now working together for a while, we will be working together for a while, what are the kind of changes we can bring about jointly? Now, whatever changes that person is wanting, isn't it about the shortcomings right now? Otherwise, why would you like to change? But you have posed the whole thing in such a positive way that you come to know the positives, that these are the strengths of the organization, and the negatives come out in terms of, let us put in a joint effort to make it still better rather than solving problems. So that is the context of what is typically called appreciative inquiry as a diagnostic tool. Of course, we'll touch upon this next time again, because this is the crux, and then we move on with the details. Right, Arvind, back to you.
Thank you, sir. It's already 6 and we actually finished a lot of things today in an hour. I hope that we'll continue from here in our next session from 6 to 7:30 next Saturday.
Perfect.
Anyone
Perfect.
have any questions? They want to...
Thank you very much, sir. Sumit sir, thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome, Praveen.
Thank you, Sumit.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot,
Compare
sir.
nahi hu, Baba. I am plain Sumit.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Plain
Thank
Sumit.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Plain Sumit.
Yes, that's better.
So we'll be waiting for next session, eagerly waiting.
Oh, thank you so much. That is what boosts my energy.
Yeah.
So next Saturday at 6 we meet, definitely.
Yeah, so thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Right.